Hello everyone, I'm Guillermo. My topics today include cybersecurity and cyber terrorism. 20, 30 years ago, cybersecurity was different than what it is today. Back then, you only had to worry about downloading a simple virus that could mess up some of your files, and you could easily go to the store and pick up a copy of Norton Antivirus or McAfee and take care of it very easily. Actually, it was something that most people didn't want to bother with unless they actually got attacked, their computer was attacked by a virus. Today, that's something completely different. The 2018 Cyber Market Report has predicted in the next 5 years over $1 trillion will be spent in cybersecurity. Not just for the individual at home, but also for companies on an international level. We've all read in the news about attacks, online attacks from Russia and China even. Our own American cyber forces have actually attacked the country of Iran and their nuclear program. A lot of people may not know that. But in the online world of attacks and cyber attacks also comes another twist, unfortunately, cyber terrorism. Now, we all know what what terrorism is. The 9/11 attacks come to mind, and a lot of people were hurt in those attacks, and that was quite unfortunate. Terrorism, people have used different types of weapons, bombs, trucks, guns, different ways of hurting people, and using the internet and the online world is just the latest weapon. Now, what is cyber terrorism as opposed to, say, cyber crime or hacktivism? Well, a cyber crime typically involves one person going after another individual or maybe a group of individuals. That person is trying to take something from the other individual. Maybe their electronic information, credit card information, their identity. Maybe they're trying to spread false information about them to go after their reputation. Typically, it's one person going after another for their own personal benefit. Now, hacktivism is a little bit different. It usually involves political motivation. They are trying to push an agenda onto other people, or maybe they're attacking the agenda of another group that they oppose. They are spreading false information about that group, or they're revealing damaging information about that group that is true and would hurt them politically. That's what hacktivism involves. Cyber terrorism is a little bit different, far more insidious, and also very dangerous. Now, there's no real definition of what cyber terrorism is, but typically it involves an attack by electronic means of, say, a virus or malware to go after critical infrastructure, a facility, services, a crucial network, something which, if it goes offline for an extended period of time, can cause actual physical harm to the public health or to important networks, even national security networks. Now, there are different examples of how cyber terrorism might look. The most common version that everyone thinks of is an attack on a major infrastructure of a metropolis. Hackers go in, shut down the system, and create the digital version of an EMP field, thereby shutting down an entire city. Hackers could also go after, say, the traffic control system of an airport. Hackers could go after a hospital and change the prescription levels or treatment levels of, say, patients, thereby causing real physical harm. There are different imaginative ways that hackers can go after us digitally and create all sorts of havoc, not just to our physical health, but even to our economy. Now, how do you combat cyber terrorism? Well, there's a number of different ways, and it usually involves three components. First is prevention. Then there is a threat mitigation, as in combating a threat as it's actually happened in real time. And then finally, the consequences. Once an attack is done, you go after the terrorist. Now, with prevention, that's very basic and simple. Whether you're a major corporation or a government, you have to set up your networks with virus protection, network firewalls. Typically, you're going to hire a large security firm that will actually specialize in protecting network computers from outside attacks. These are the attacks that have to do with cybersecurity. Now, obviously, cyber terrorism is a step up from there. In Malaysia, the Cybersecurity Malaysia, it's an agency under the Malaysian Ministry of Science, Technology, Innovation that deals specifically with cyber threats. One of the interesting characteristics of this agency is that they actually cross international borders and form relations with other governments of other countries so that they can get a coalition going to combat the threat together. It's a means of preventing other attacks from other terrorists going after other countries if all these countries can band together to combat these terrorist threats. Here in America, the internet was originally called the ARPANET, was created by the American Department of Defense. They have a huge agencies. Each department of our militaries have their own different infrastructures that deals with cybersecurity threats, both as in prevention and actually going after any attacks that occur. Now, according to the World Economic Forum, the top 4 countries most prepared for a cyber attack are the United States, Canada, Australia, and the aforementioned Malaysia. But as much as you try to protect and prevent an attack, eventually a penetration comes through. Now, the first line, and once that occurs, the next line of defense is compartmentalization and containment. First thing you have to do is to have an indication, set up a warning or an indication that you're actually being attacked. Now, this is easier done at this stage than at the prevention stage, but it also has its difficulties because you want to make sure you are able to determine an actual attack as opposed to, say, a false positive. Now, once the attack occurs, the idea is you want to contain the attack. You want to minimize losses, you want to protect the assets, and you certainly want to protect your precious data so that it's not lost or stolen. And so that way it's easy to recover once the attack is over. Once the attack is over, then you have to deal with the consequences, consequence management. Now, there are 2 basic parts to this. The first one is obvious, recovery, and then response. Now, recovery is pretty straightforward as one means of defense, and you're always backing up your data, you're always backing up your assets. So in case of a loss or an attack or someone takes your data, you can recover that as quickly as possible. You want to put that information back into your organization so they can be up and running as fast as possible, as normal as possible, as soon as possible. Now, once you have recovered, the next step is response. You go after the culprits. First of all, you find out exactly how they got into your system. What are the security holes that they found? What are the methods that they use to get past your firewalls and other defenses? Then you need to identify who these people are and go after them. Now, what are the ethical implications involving cybersecurity and cyber terrorism? Well, right now in the cyber world, the online world, especially on an international level, it's sort of like the wild, wild west. There's no real regulation yet as governments try to catch up to the cyber world and their means of dealing with attacks. There are people who take it upon themselves, people and groups who take it upon themselves to try to go after these terrorists and also hackers. One of the biggest groups that come to mind is Anonymous. Now, this is a decentralized group of hackers who have gone after companies and real terrorist organizations like ISIS to try to, keep them from carrying attacks out on other people. Now, the intention can certainly be good, but you have to be careful because if you're out there in the online world, you yourself can be identified and then you can put yourself in danger. Likewise, there are countries like I mentioned before, the United States. They went after Iran and their nuclear program and set them back. Now, we did that for the purest of reasons because we didn't want them to have nuclear weapons. But at the same time, we attacked some of their infrastructure, and I'm sure it hurt their country. Now, we had our reasons this time around, but what happens next time when we want to attack another country for whatever reason that might be? Likewise, at the same time, we have to protect ourselves, like, say, from Russia, who has actually interfered. And recently, of late, as everyone knows, they interfered in our election process. Well, we have to protect ourselves and our interests. So, at the same time, even though we don't want to be hurting other countries, sometimes we have to go after other countries that hurt us as well. In conclusion, we are in a world of technology today. We have many computers out there, many lines of communication, and it's all controlled online. As a result, the world of cybersecurity and cyber terrorism are very real, and it's only going to get more complicated as time goes by and we get more dependent on technology. Companies today and governments today have to deal with protecting their assets from regular outside threats and from real threats of cybersecurity. People are always going to find innovative ways to attack us, and it's no longer simply an airplane or a bomb or a gun. Now there are new and different methods of coming after us, and using the online cyber world is just the latest weapon. And we must always be vigilant, and we must always be prepared.